Danny Steyer,
Yes.
gotcha. Lyda Scoggin,
Here.
great. Shelby Lamb,
Here.
thank you, Shelby. Dax Albrecht, Marcia Roby,
Here.
fantastic.
I'm here.
Thanks. Thank you, Dax. And with that, may I have a motion to approve today's agenda, please?
Marcia, I approve the agenda.
I'll second the agenda.
Marcia and Lyda, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Eyes across the board. Any opposed? Okay. And moving on to the August 4th, 2025 meeting minutes. I have a motion to approve the August 4th meeting minutes.
I like to comment, request.
Mm-hmm.
I would like a little bit, I think there should be something else put within the canopy project. Dixie Fire Canopy Project, that there was some cautionary, at least I thought I voiced some concerns that to stay within the scope of planting and trees and such, and not to quite, don't get caught in that position again, because it's not like we will make that company whole for moving into a landscaping business as opposed to a tree planting endeavor. So that was kind of the verbiage that I thought I voiced on, but it's not recorded.
Okay. So may I have a motion for the approval of the August 4th, 2025 meeting minutes as amended by Danny to highlight the concerns with regard to scope creep and the Dixie Fire Canopy Project kind of moving away from their general operations.
I so move.
Okay, Lyda? Second?
I'll second it, Shelby.
Shelby? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, I will make those, I will add a few more sentences in there, Danny, to highlight those, that conversation.
Yeah, thanks.
Mm-hmm. All right, moving on to public input. Once again, our stalwart public is Sheriff Pryor, or our Sherry Pryor and Tess Porter.
And they do a
Hey.
great job.
Just hanging in there.
That's right.
We don't have any input today.
Okay.
What?
Very well.
Unbelievable, huh?
Unbelievable.
Patrick?
Yeah, Danny?
Yeah, I had been contacted by people with questions about the involvement of the DFC in the Taylorsville pool. And there's questions about, did we approve funding for the IVCSD to make the IVRP, sorry about the alphabet soup there, but reimburse them for the refurbishment of the Taylorsville pool? Somebody has that impression, and they also have the impression that there's DFC funds waiting to be given out to help with the maintenance of the Taylorsville pool. And I don't recall voting on any of that, but that's something that.
We have not.
Right. Okay.
We've not given any money to the IVRPD for the Taylorsville pool. In fact, I don't know that we've given any money to the IVRPD.
Have they
Right.
asked for it?
They have not.
There was some thought that the person who contacted me had thought that maybe the IVCSD got money, that they had agreed to do that. So
The IVRPD, they had their own money, and since the CSD owns the pool, they worked with the CSD to do the repair, remodel, whatever they did to the pool. But none of that money came from us.
right, and they were just under the impression, and I'll just say John Hunter was under the impression that there was money sitting somewhere, that they were told that DFC, Dixie Fire Collaborative, was ready to hand out, as if it had a blank check ready to write for that or something. So I tried to address that. So I want you to be aware and everybody
Okay,
else.
yeah, thanks for the heads up. If I see John, I'll let him know.
All right.
Okay,
Thanks.
yeah, thank you. Okay, so I knew that Ali Flegler, moving on to the first item on the agenda is the Dawn Institute. Ali Flegler, who's their executive director, she is unable to attend today. Terry Schwartz had mentioned that he was going to come because he's affiliated with it. But hopefully you all had an opportunity to look at the grant overall. I talked it over with Kim from North Valley Community Foundation. From her standpoint, no red flags stuck out with regard to the grant or the budget for it, or how staffing is working. It does look like the Dawn Institute is shouldering some of the weight of the staff work, and then some of it is included in the budget overall. Dax, I don't, I do, but I don't want to put you on the spot. If there's anything, just because of your connection with this project, if you'd like to elaborate.
Yeah, I
that
think
would
I
help.
can pretty much speak for this. So yeah, what we're asking for is basically money to cover the costs of spring box replacement for our water system and a filtration / disinfection system. We've gotten a quote. We have a contractor lined up. We've actually put a deposit down on the work from using the funds, combination of the leftover funds from the last DFC grant, as well as some funds that we've gotten from the Rotary. And basically, we felt comfortable in putting down that deposit with that money because essentially the Dawn Institute is, said they will, if DFC for some reason doesn't want to fund this, the Dawn Institute will backstop it just because it's really important to get done. And we have a kind of a short timeline as far as contractor availability. But yeah, basically everything, that's what it is. It's the spring box and disinfection system, which is going to be pretty critical. Once that's done, we should be pretty much online with potable water for the community for the 14 hookups that are served by that in Indian Falls. And yeah, that's the gist of it.
Okay, great. It looked like some of the results that would come from this is adding 14 water connections, which my sense is that would help enable housing rebuild to kind of at least alleviate the difficulty with getting water to a residential property.
Yeah, basically, this project has to occur in order for the properties that are served by these hookups, if and when rebuilds are to happen on those lots, this has to happen in order for county environmental health to issue a what is it called? Certificate of occupancy for any new builds using the water system.
And it looked like the overall amount of the project is $85,823.70, and then the amount requested here is $68,040. So about 80% of that overall budget there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else, Dax?
I think that's the gist of it. If anybody has any questions, I'll answer as best I can.
Yeah, team, questions, comments? Yes, Danny, please.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you, Dax, the people who put together and the timeline there, the project timeline is awesome to have. And looking like it's a hit the ground running, get it going. One first question before the more serious ones. So how many people were serviced before? You mentioned there's 14 now, and how many were prior?
Well, there were and still are 14 hookups. The system has goes to 14 separate properties.
Okay.
3 of the properties that the 3 surviving homes that were served by this have either had or put in a well since the fire, so that's what they're running off now.
Okay.
But for those other properties that were on the system and didn't have a well, this is basically their water source.
Great, yeah, and I do like the clear notation of where the other funds are coming from and such too. So round out the project and
Yeah.
that's very good. Very clear.
Allie,
The treasurer, go ahead.
I said that was Allie from the Dawn Institute put this together, so we appreciate the work she put into doing it thoroughly.
Right, yeah, that just complimented on that, so that's good. So clear, very clear presentation, easy to follow. Thanks.
But
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Yes, Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, you mentioned that the Dawn Institute had some funds available to contribute to this.
well, we're hoping to have we have the water system has basically $15,000 of funds left over from previous grants, partially from the Dixie Fire Collaborative and the Greenville Rotary, which is that's $15,000 that we've used as a deposit. And the Dawn Institute is hoping to not have to dig into their money that could potentially go to something else. But just because this is so essential, basically they're saying we'll pull this money out of our funds for other projects if we need to, just to get this done if this doesn't go through here with DFC. That's our thinking.
Okay.
Matt, go ahead.
So in Crescent Mills, like the water seems fine and it's tested, and I've seen the test results, but so many people don't drink the water and they choose to drink canned or bottled water instead, which is for me is a real shame. Do you know if people will be drinking the water, if they'll be comfortable drinking the water in Indian Falls, and if there's anything that we can do to help them understand that it's really clean and good, that they don't need to be wasting all this plastic and shit?
Yeah, I think as far as the current and former members of Indian Falls that have been on the water system, we've pretty aware that it's very high quality, clean water as far as chemical composition, and we've tested it since the fire. We've done several rounds of testing, and it's all good, and everybody's it tastes good. People like it. The only difference now is it's going to be chlorinated in order to satisfy the environmental health requirements. And a couple people are not thrilled about that. They'd rather have just the raw water that we had in the past. Right. But we've done some research and talked with the members that installing a simple carbon filter on your water service should take that out. And but yeah, I don't think we're going to really have any issues with people concerned about water quality, especially after this. The Springboks especially is going to basically isolate the source from a lot of the environment that the old one hadn't been doing a good job of. So it should keep a lot of the organic matter out. And yeah, I don't think that's going to be an issue here.
Good job. And then in terms of ongoing maintenance, is that IVCSD or is that your own little mini CSD, or who's going to maintain it?
Yeah, it's our own water system. It's all at this point, it's in the past, and at this point, it's all been member maintained by the membership. We are going to be looking, or I'm going to be looking in the future about reaching out to possibly the Indian Valley CSD or somebody we can partner with. Basically, I'd think it'd be good for us to have some agreement with another organization that, you know, if we do have a problem, a major repair that needs to happen in the future, that we have basically somebody we can call on to do that. So that's the next you know, thing I'm going to be working on with the water system. But currently, no, it's all members.
And are the members going to be metered and pay for their water, or is it going to be fixed fees or no fees, or how does that work?
We've always done fixed fees. We haven't put in any meters because it hasn't really been an issue. There was a while during the drought where, when they were doing water curtailments, that we started thinking about some of that. It never really was too much of an issue or affected us. But yeah, we've traditionally always just set fixed a flat yearly rate and you know, adjusted that as needed, depending on where our bank account was sitting and any anticipated work we had to do that year. So I think
Looks like it's $500 per connection, so it's $7,000 a year is what you anticipate.
yeah,
At least
that's
as a,
typically been, but we vote on those every year, so we can always, you know, change that if need be.
okay. Any other additional questions or comments? Okay, well, with that, it sounds like there's general support here. Would anybody like to put forth a motion to approve $68,040 to the Falls Community Water System and the Dawn Institute grant request?
I will definitely be happy to put that forward.
Okay, Lyda Scoggin, thank you.
I'll second that, Shelby.
Shelby Long. Okay. And we'll go around the horn here. Lyda,
Yes,
Danny Starr,
Yes.
Marsha Roby,
Yes.
Greg Walsh,
Yes.
Matt Fogarty,
Yes.
Shelby Leon,
Yes.
and Dax Albrecht.
Abstain.
Very good. And with that, the motion to approve $68,040 to the Indian Falls Community Water System and Dawn Institute is approved.
Yay.
Great, thank you guys. Appreciate it so much. Really
Thank
helped.
you. All right. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. This one's been kind of a work in progress, long time coming, however you want to phrase it. And this is a grant that was authored by the MIDO Summit Consortium with contributions from the Biochar Coalition. This is for a project to get underway in the Warner Valley area. And so I think you read the highlights from the grant request. But overall, this is a grant request. The total amount of need is $250,000. However, the amount requested today from MIDO Summit Consortium is $108,194.02. And I think there's a pretty detailed budget that was placed in here as an attachment with regard to the expenses, the overall labor going into this particular project, and then the general scope of work. So Lida has been working on this quite a bit on behalf of the Friends of Warner Valley, which is a community network of folks up there in Warner Valley. And this has been an issue for a while of Warner Valley residents trying to work on decreasing debris, biomass, other things like that that would help enable their rebuilds and just their way to move forward. So just a little brief background there. It looks like we have Tabor from the
Yes.
Biochar Coalition on to as a subject matter expert to kind of talk about some of the process. But before we get there, Lida, I'd like to turn it over to you if you can add any more context or background for the team.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've talked about this before in this meeting, but basically, Warner Valley had like 200 cabins, about half of which burned in the fire. But really, the bulk of the issues that are remaining at this point have to do with all of the dead trees, both standing and on the ground, all the branches and trash that's collected over the last 3 years. And we have investigated numerous ways of trying to get rid of that stuff. As you may or may not be aware, it's expensive to remove this stuff. It's it's hard to find people that can do it and do it well. So we just keep coming up against brick walls one way or the other in terms of being able to deal with this problem. And then I don't know, 2 weeks ago, I guess, Melissa Smith from the MIDU Consortium let me know that there was a new way of dealing with this kind of material, which is a process called biochar, and that there is a group, the Biochar Coalition, which is a 501c3, that is doing this in Butte County for sure, and they're working on projects in Plumas County and elsewhere, and they are interested in working with the work crew from the MIDU Summit Consortium to train them in how to do this process, which would mean that they are then qualified to do it wherever in the area, and simultaneously get rid of a whole lot of our slash. So we're absolutely thrilled that this is an option, because what it means is that they come onto your property, and I'm not going to try to describe the process because I don't really understand it, but they burn the stuff and then they put what's left back on the ground as nutrients. I don't think they call it fertilizer.
I'm actually
but
here if you want me to answer any of these questions or help clarify.
Yeah. Let me just
There's
finish
actually
one
no
thing and
nutrients
then
in the biochar, but the biochar can hold nutrients when nutrients are available. So what we do is we are using fire. The image behind me is a kiln, and the kiln contains the fire to make it a safe burn. And the flame is the combustion of the cellular content, where on the other side, you'll see the black charcoal is what we end up creating. And when we apply water to that, it crystallizes it, making it a stable carbon source that can be left in the soil, and the carbon can bond with nutrients, so it can hold nutrients and water in the soil strata, but it itself is not providing any carbon for the soil life or nutrients for the soil life, but it's holding that carbon and soil and nutrients in there. But yes, we can reduce all of that fire fuel mass through utilizing kilns and human labor, and come up with a higher percentage of char and quality of char as a result. And so I'm really excited that you guys are interested. And this is and don't let me interrupt you, but if you have more questions, that's why we're here. It looks like, and Ken has also arrived, so he's now in the meeting. And I'm the president of the Biochar Coalition, and Ken is our executive director and secretary. just to help clarify
Yeah.
our
No,
relationship.
thank you for that, Tabor, and thanks, Ken, for joining us.
And just one of the things that is so beautiful about this process is that it doesn't require a whole lot of heavy equipment to be dragged across the land and destroying what is starting to grow there.
And the biggest
Um,
equipment that we would be using would be like a splitter to try to split larger logs that would be more efficiently burned if split. So a splitter can be brought to a site, and the splitter size can vary depending on the available splitter. But that's our largest tech that we would use. Everything else is pitchfork, shovel, lighter, and
And
patience.
there's also going to be an education component to this where we're going to educate the community, kind of bring them alongside one of the work sites in between a few of the houses that are still intact. And the community actually encouraged us to do this. We weren't going to make it originally part of the quote, but they expressed, because they know our model and we do a lot of education, and they're like, we want one here. So it's a great opportunity to introduce biochar to Lassen County and whoever wants to show.
Yeah, that's great. And with that, correct me if I'm wrong, but we were talking about a week and a half ago with both Shannon and Melissa. There was a piece as well that one of the reasons that the MyDo Summit Consortium was interested in this was also cross-training some of their personnel and just getting acquainted with your processes. Is that correct as well?
Absolutely correct. Yeah, we want to make this one of the first big indigenous biochar making groups in California, and this is where this funding offers a unique opportunity to say that, you know, we funded this workforce and we got it going, and our goals are very large. This is part of our goal is to increase the workforce and get training all over the place, and this is a great way for the tribe to take that and work that internally, and then also open the doors to other workforce that we want to make up there, because SPI is right near us and everyone else is there, and Collins Pine is nearby, and there's a lot of people who could benefit seeing this practice being done.
And some of the training them is to hopefully train some of them at least to be trainers themselves, so they too can expand the training beyond. And as I mentioned to them when we first interviewed, is that I don't want to process their land. There's so much more land that needs processing. We need more people to process. So if they have people that can do the work, let's get them trained doing the work, training others to do the work, and so that we can grow this to more properties and more tribes and more landscapes by having more people and more kilns available to continue growing this methodology.
Greg, I see you have your hand up for question or comment.
Yeah, if you're funded, how many people do you plan on employing and training? What's the scope of the workforce?
Right now we have the MyDo Summit Consortium has 15 full-time workers, and they're going to be utilized. We're just there to help facilitate technical training and show them best practices. This whole year is generally we're partnering with them to do this. So in essence, 15 people will be trained throughout this cycle, this grant cycle.
But of course, anybody that shows up in our workshops that are publicly listed will get training from just being present at a workshop. So we want it to be more than 15, but this contract scheduled and planned for 15, but it could become more if more people show up and want to participate. Well, I mean,
as I understood from what Ken has told me too, you can train individual property owners to do this on their own. They don't have to have a kiln to do it.
Correct. The kiln is the most efficient, effective technique. It's the safest method. It's not the only method. And our education and training is all methods available are talked about. We just highlight and prioritize the kiln as the most effectual method, but not the only necessary method. And as you mentioned, we're working in Butte County. We've also been working heavily in Nevada County. So we have a lot of projects that went on there, and we're expanding. El Dorado County is also setting up a symposium to try to expand this knowledge to industry leaders so that we can scale this out further. And so we have a wide scope of how far we want this to spread. And this is just one major hurdle for us of getting a team of people that we believe with their kilns that they're going to acquire, they're going to be able to train more teams the way we are.
How big are those kilns?
They can range in size. So behind me, the width of the screen is one panel, and one kiln is 6 panels to make a circle. And you can do 4 panels for a smaller circle. You can add 2 kilns together and come up with 8 panels. If you have longer wood, you can make it an oval shape instead of a circle. But the panels are about, I think, what, 3 to 4 feet wide, and that tall. They're about square, you know, a little bit wider than tall, perhaps, but about 3 foot square. And then you just put them together to make a circle. It's actually 2 cylinders, so you might only notice behind me 1 cylinder, but
Yeah.
just behind it, there's a second one, and there's about, I think, 3 inches or 2 inches in between the two. And that distance between the 2 steels, the outer ring is considered a heat shield. And what that does is it helps keep the worker from feeling the heat of the kiln, because there's cool air coming below it that circulates. And that cool air is preheated and folds right into the kiln as warm oxygen rich air, which gets consumed maintaining a flame. So it helps the functionality of the burn. It isn't absolutely necessary for someone that's going to do their own kiln design or use a 55-gallon barrel that does not have any holes in the sides. Can also be a kiln, but the volume of the kiln is what your limitation to the size of the wood you can put into it. And if the wood is bigger than 6-8 inches, we advocate splitting it to help get air into the middle of that wood so that it'll burn more efficiently.
And what kind of lengths of logs can you deal with?
Any kind. I mean, dry.
I mean, are you like chopping it into 4-foot sections, 6-foot sections, 8-foot
I
sections?
I go back to the human scale. If you can lift it, it's good size. If you can't lift it, cut it down.
Okay.
If it's longer than the kiln, but it's not very big, then you can lean it on the wall of the kiln. Whatever's inside the kiln burns. Whatever's hanging out outside won't burn, but will fall off with one end lit. So you just pick it up and toss it in. So you can use the fire to cut long branches or small thin poles in half. But if it's a really thick piece, you can't lift it up anyways. You got to cut it down. So then you would aim to cut it the size of the kiln dimensions. So if you set it to a 4-foot dimension, a 4-foot pole would be good. If it's a 6-foot diameter kiln, you can use a 6-foot length. And if you can lift it even with 2 people and toss it in, it will burn in the kiln. But if you pre-split it, it'll burn faster. And it doesn't have to be split to firewood size. It doesn't have to be split in entirely. If you can just crack it open to get air to go through the center of a log, then it will burn in the core equal to the edge, because there'll be a new edge called the crack you made. And so the splitting is to try to increase the size potential to burn faster so that you can burn any size. But branch work, you don't need to cut it. If you can pick it up, if it's been broken by tractors and you've just picked it up, toss it in, leaves or not.
I put a link to their website in the chat while we're talking, for anybody that wants to review that. Greg, does that answer your question for right now?
That answers that one, but just one more thing, like how long, looking at the project that we're talking about, what's the timeline? How long do you think it would take to clear that land?
We were thinking
is
it's going to take us around 3 to 4 weeks or so, because the Mountain Maidu, they only work 4 days a week. So we just figured in 3 weeks it should be done. 3 to 4 weeks, just about. We work pretty
Wow.
quick. And once we
Alright.
get them dialed in on the kiln training, and they like really know what they're doing, it's going to go even faster. So we just said 3 to 4 weeks we should have this done. So,
But
and
in
we could
fact,
start.
this is also in itself an internal study that we're doing, because this will be the most kilns that we've had operating at one time. We've done, our first big project was in Orchard, where we had 5 consecutive kilns with 6 workers. And then we did an 8 kiln workshop, which had a lot more people that came in besides the 8 operators. And this is going to be potentially 15 kilns and 15 trained operators, that if we're all effectual, we should be able to have all kilns in full operation, which will be a massive production compared to anything that's ever been done before. So the true answer we're going to discover through creation of this project. And I look forward to being clear with my answer to anybody else at what acreage rate can we do based on the density of what's there. But I will trust Ken's judgment, because he's seen the site more than I have. But we can burn a lot ourselves 5 hours a day, but we can have more people helping.
Yeah, the Warner Valley project, there's significant hazard fuels, especially there's a lot of vertical standing hazardous trees near walkways and where the community really enjoys walking. And there's just the amount of standing trees, that's going to be bulk of this because there's a lot of material on the ground, but all the stuff that we got, especially on Liza's property, is there's so much there. And that's where the efficiency of felling trees properly, getting them out of the ingress and egress areas appropriately, and just training people how to cut the wood. Like you said, there is some training that's required to know how to process the material, make it efficient. And these are all things that we dialed out after the first job that we all complete with the Mountain Maidu. So we'll definitely dial that in. Like I said, we're hoping this can be a multi-phase thing where we can handle more projects out there in Warner Valley, because that place really could use the biochar, especially with the meadow and the restoration work. A lot of the community members really want to see done.
Got Matt's hand up, and then Sherry and Cass. So we'll go to Matt and then Sherry and Cass.
Well, hi guys. I think the project sounds really cool. One thing I really like about biochar is its ability to put that carbon into the ground for like thousands of years. It's like carbon sequestration. And it's actually like a lot of companies are investing like millions and billions of dollars to try and find a way to put carbon capture. And this is a very low tech, very practical way of like cleaning up the forest and doing carbon capture, carbon reduction. My question is, in terms of doing the kilns that you guys are thinking about versus some more kind of high tech version. So I looked into it a little bit because in Crescent Mills there's like a wood campus thing here going on. Anyway, it hasn't really happened yet, but I looked into biochar there, and there was a company like All Power Labs. They're based in Berkeley, and they have like these machines, and it can be in a container, and they can make gas, and it's like seem kind of very, very, very cool, you know? I know they've been going for a while, but are you guys like, is that a technology that you guys would want to deploy in this project or the next project, or are you guys not that positive about this kind of higher tech kind of implement?
Great question. No, we absolutely are. We talk to all kinds of portable pyrolysis systems. I just started talking to one guy, Caribou Power Systems. They are creating a mobile gasifier in a cylinder style that all cylinder style work for the gasification, so you can process and get these gases. However, no one really has come up with this portable biomass system you can haul in a trailer and hook up, grind up material, and put into a hopper at its moisture content, because moisture content, a lot of these gasification units, they're having a lot of hard time. They need dryers. A lot of these stationary units, like we need dryers. We got to get this material down to like 10% moisture content. But this gentleman, Caribou Power, they're still pilot project. We're actually going to help them demo one of their apparatuses down in Old Durham Wood over in Chico, Butte County area, before Chico. And so when you ask us, yes, we are involved with them, but this ability that we're presenting is like a workforce, getting people to make char, reduce stationary carbon on like landowner parcels, right? But the big projects, 100 acres, log decks, all that's going to be coming online, and we're going to be at the cusp of getting these technologies to the job site that we agree with their processes of making quality biochar, so we can use it for what we need it to, which is putting it in the ground. So it's just also all power labs, they're great. They're trying to figure out how to make graphene from their gasification units so it can go high tech, so they can go into batteries and electronics and things like that. But what we're seeing more for what we're trying to do out in the forest, getting rid of the biomass for fire fuels management and soil restoration, that these portable systems that we can put in the back of our trucks are really effective. And we're just waiting for these other guys to get online so we can start getting them to the job sites with like towers of log decks that were like, oh my God, this is crazy. We need a tub grinder and an excavator. And we are getting to that point. So we'll be ready to implement that once we get more of this. Like Caribou Power is like the next person I looked into that I think that has a shot of making these portable systems, and they're going to be debuting it in Butte County. So I would keep you guys informed when they plan on doing this demo, because I really feel like this guy, he's already working with the US Army, because he's made a lot of biogas systems for them when they get deployed overseas to make portable energy systems with just any type of wood they find. So it's getting there. And that was a great question.
But if I understand the question, no, we are not bringing those techs to this project. We're bringing the Ring of Fire flame cap kiln because it is the simplest, most effectual, highest quality, and highest ratio potential char that's simple, human scalable. And it's our flagship highlight because human scale is the solution. Humans made the problem, humans can fix it. But as far as like other kilns, there's tiger cats, those are things that will make a volume of char, but it honestly makes a lower quality and a lower quantity in total potential. And so there's a lot of trade-offs when you use some of that equipment. And like the all power, they're like the closed kiln system. So you have a higher expense to build the system, and you tend to need a fixed location to benefit from it. And a lot of the systems that are using the gas to generate electricity, or they're using the heat to dry the wood, that's going to be beneficial if you have a fixed location where it's easier to set up those systems and turn it to operational. But what we are really working on is what none of those systems are willing to deal with, which is the on the site location. Let's not get hung up on collecting the gas. Let's just try to reduce the fire fuel threat. Let's get that carbon spread out, sequestered on the soil, and it will benefit the soil and the forest where we've made it, or the meadow where we've made it. It'll stay there. It'll be valuable there. And that's easier and a higher priority for us than trying to keep up with making sure we get the investors for the big equipment and the gas and the next industry. So we are fully supportive and working with those other industry strategies. But in this project, to my understanding, it's going to stay with just the Ring of Fire kiln.
Okay. Thank you, Matt, and thank you for the explanation, gentlemen. Sherry and Kest.
Yeah, I'm curious, for those of us that burn dozens of truckloads of pine needles and pine cones, does it work with pine needles and pine cones?
Yes, you can. I mean, I will often at events, I have a kettle, I'll put a pine cone in the kettle with the lid, cast iron Dutch oven, and I'll set it in the big kiln. And when we pull it out, you can see that the pine cones, they hold their integrity as whole pine cones, as charred pine cones, the entire thing. Now, you don't have to do that in the separate kiln thing. We do that for demonstration at an event because otherwise it'll break apart and crumble and get mixed into the char. But you can throw the pine cones into that pile of burn char, and you can throw the pine needles. When it comes to the pine needles, you have to do it conscientiously, because you can throw it in there and suddenly have the heat blowing it out, so you have to get it into the flame and not actually have it so thick that it smothers the flame. You want the flame to be able to surround that pitchfork load of pine needles. So sometimes if I have a thick load of pitchfork pine needles, I'll hold it over the kiln until it starts getting to an ignited state, and then I'll lower it into the kiln so that I can know that it's been fully combusted and not just making a suppressed layer within it. The pine cones, no problem though. Toss those in, they'll burn so fast, but you won't find them as a pine cone later, and that's why I do the separate kettle, so that for demonstration we can show, look, anything can be turned into biochar, but the quality of the charcoal is different. Just look at the pine cone yourself. How much porous cavity is inside that? Not nearly as much if you compare it to a bamboo or something that's porous. Like the willow tree is filled with veins because it's sucking water up. So the pine cone is very dense and very hard, and so it has a very different porous quality. But as far as carbon sequestration, it goes in the ground. As far as nutrients sticks to it, it sticks to it. But it's a different filter benefit. If you're going to try to filter water, you might want something more porous.
Thank you.
And you were talking about the chlorine in the water. You can actually use biochar to make your own filter, to filter your water. When you guys are talking about having chlorinated water, you can install your own biochar filter to filter your own water to clear all that chlorine out. I thought of that earlier when you guys were talking, but you mentioned it. You can put a carbon filter, a standard one too. I see Marcia Ruby as a question.
Yeah, there you go, Marcia.
I was just going to tell Kes that Elaine Dara in Greenhaven, she bought a biochar thing from Oregon, and she has it in her backyard because of all of the pine trees and all of the pine needles. So she uses it to burn her pine needles. So if you ever
Is
want
that
to
the square
look at
Oregon
hers,
kiln?
Yeah.
the square organ kiln. And that was made by the same woman, Kelty Wilson, that invented the ring of fire that's behind me in the photo. That was the precursor. It was the organ kiln has an actual flat bottom, and that flat bottom was extra weight, which made it very heavy to move the kiln to job sites. So the ring of fire has no bottom. It's built on the earth where it's at. So you have to be very mindful where you put it. You can't put it over a tree trunk. You can't put it, you got to put it on actual soil. You can't put it on wood chips. And then you use a shovel to actually dig around the edges so that no air can go underneath, and that the seal isn't going to burn away by being a wood chip seal. It needs to be an earthen seal. And so the bottomlessness of our kiln is what made it lightweight enough to become mobile. But the organ kiln that you mentioned is a great homestead kiln, and it was the precursor to the ring of fire that we use now.
We still have one hanging out in Concow. It's just sitting there. So we're gonna deliver it soon to somewhere up in Camptonville soon. So they're still out there. It's nice to hear that there's one hanging out over in would you say Greenville?
Yeah, it's in
You gotta link up to them and say
You
hi.
should take some pictures of her using it and then tag us at the Biochar Coalition and get social evidence like this is still happening. It's still
this is great.
Because we love to basically promote that all these simple kilns that we're promoting, they last. Like the kiln behind me, it's our original kiln, and I'm still burning out of it. It's warped a little bit from some of the logs I threw in, but the longer these things last, and the more we share that with each other, the more evidence that we can prove that this is an affordable strategy. The kiln is cheap, and it lasts a long time, and it makes tons and tons of carbon. So yeah, please tag and share. Biochar Coalition.
Yeah, we love it.
You can see why we got pretty excited about this option when it was presented to us by the MIDU consortium.
I'm grateful that they brought it up to you. We're excited to be working with them.
Yeah, native approved.
Native approved, yeah.
What other thoughts, questions, concerns, any other considerations, team? Yes, Danny?
Yeah, I have a question that goes back to the budget and line items and such. And so, there's a need apparently for this project of $250,000, but they only requested $108,000. That's here I'm the numbers guy, right? I'm the treasurer. So that's $141,000 miles, say $142,000 delta. Is the project going to be able to go forward with only $108,000 funded, or is it going to have to languish until they get to the $250,000 to do the project? So I don't know.
So Melissa, the MIDU Summit, they were mostly in charge of setting that budget up. And from what I understood is that to do these 11 parcels, it was going to be 1,108. But if we were going to get more parcels to sign up, then we would allocate for more work. But all we got was, I believe, 11 or so, or I think it was like 7. I'm not sure exactly how many was on there, but we
11,
said we can't treat around 11 that are on there. So that's where the 108 came from.
Yeah, I think the bottom line
as far as projects go,
I think the bottom line is that these 11 are people that were on site saying, yes, we want to do this. This is what we want to have happen. So those people are they're very much on board. There are other people that have an interest, but they, for whatever reason, they are not they're not ready to sign on to it. And we think that once they see it happening, then we'll have a bunch more people sign on. So, but to answer your question, Danny, this 108,194.02 number is for these specific 11 parcels. And yes, it can proceed. As I understand it, we can go as soon as it's processed and approved, whatever, those 11 parcels can go. And then hopefully that will help generate an interest in other kinds of funding. Or if not, maybe we'll come back to the Dixie Fire Collaborative. But right now, that's what we got, and it can go forward.
So maybe we should call this phase 1 with 11 parcels and put a little thing that the
Yeah.
balance to be phase two? Just so we have it clear, because otherwise I'm conflicted upon how can you start the project if you need more money?
Yeah, I think
Right.
it's described as phase, like the last sentence underneath the description, it says, the funding request of $108,194.02 represents phase one of a broader ongoing effort to support immediate, wildfire mitigation needs and so on and so forth. So I think, yeah, from talking, Lyda, as you said, with Shannon and Melissa, that they're identifying this as phase one, get this done, see how it goes, and then see if there's other interested parties and then go from there. But at least get some of the work done and not allow this to be an obstacle to other progress, I think was the idea.
Yep.
Phase one.
Yeah, I just be more comfortable with that request where it says amount request, it said phase one request. Anyway, but as long as it's clear, as everybody's clear and we're clear on what it is, then I will understand and say, yes, okay, the project's going forward with 11 properties and this is enough to support the project. That's my
Right.
only
Thank you,
concern.
Dan. Yes, sir.
I'm the bean counter, I guess, so.
I love it.
That's
I
your
wish we had
job.
one of those.
Makes sense. Yes, Marcia, you have your hand up?
I'd like to make a motion that we go forward with granting their request for $108,194.02 to the Biochar Madu Consortium project in Warner Valley.
Okay. And do I have a second for that motion?
I'll second.
Thank you, Danny. And we'll do a roll call. Marcia Roby,
Yes.
Danny Starr,
Yes.
Lyda Scoggin,
Abstain.
Dax Albrecht,
Yes.
Greg Walsh,
Yes.
Matt Fogarty,
Yes.
Shelby Lamb.
Abstain.
Okay. So with that, we do have enough for the motion to carry
Wow.
as approved or as briefed. $108,194.02 to the Mighty Summit Consortium to support the Warner Valley biochar project.
Thank you.
Excellent.
I
Thank you so
can't
much.
tell you how excited how exciting this is for us
Everybody's
after
excited. It's the
all
best part.
these months of this.
So
Thank you.
I kind of looked into this when I first heard about this. I heard previously about this from Ted Stout. I don't know, I think some of you might know who he is in Crescent Mills.
Yep.
Because he was looking to do this very thing, that biochar, but he hadn't identified who to go with and everything else. So that's why I'm kind of more familiar with it, at least from him and such. So yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah, we're out there. Just let people know we're ready to do whatever we can. So
We want to help more people getting into it. Get more
we want to
people
help
doing
homeowners
it.
do it. That's where we're really
Yeah.
fascinated.
That's where the trainings and work and public work events come in, is that they don't need to hire us for the whole job. They could come to a public event, get trained, choose to buy a kiln or not, rent a kiln or not, or build a proper conservation burn and quench it. We just need more people to become aware, to become involved, and to participate on their own level. Like, everyone should be doing this. I love it.
And
Thank
this
you
helps.
all
Thank
for your
you all. I
support.
really appreciate it. Thank
We're
you.
excited. This is great.
And we'll
And-
invite everybody to
Hey,
the first demonstration project we do at Warner Valley.
Yeah.
And the start date.
Yep.
When burn season begins, I'm gonna have to talk to the air control board now and just let them know I gotta file permits and all that. So this is great. Let them know that we plan these burns, and they're already good with it. They just wanted me to tell them when we're gonna start. So this was kind of what I was waiting for to hear, and move forward on all that. So the start date will be when we can burn. So.
I think I was going to say something.
Hi, I'm Melissa Smith, and I'm with Mighty Summit. We just got on. Right when you guys were doing the vote, so I just wanted to say thank you. And this is going to be an incredible job that is it needs to be done, and we're going to be there to do it. So again, thank you, Dixie Fire Collaborative and everyone else that was involved with it.
Happy to do it.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you
all.
so much, Melissa. Really nice job on the application.
And sort of the next steps here is
Thank you.
I'll send a notification to North Valley Community Foundation that this motion was approved. So we'll get that going tomorrow. And then Melissa, for your knowledge, more than likely a gentleman by the name of Logan Todd will be reaching out from North Valley Community Foundation with kind of the next steps of there'll be a grant agreement that will come and then just some of that paperwork. And then they'll look to release the funds in the next couple of weeks.
All right, sounds good.
All right. Tabor and Ken, thanks for joining us and just providing the background and the subject matter expertise to
Thank
enlighten
you.
everyone. And good luck with the project.
Thank you,
Great.
everybody.
Great. You guys have a great day. Thanks for your help.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks.
coming.
Welcome.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Melissa. The next item on our agenda is coordinator update. So the first item, and Greg, I know you wanted to hear about this, the Greenville campground. So the only information to provide since the last time I brought it up is that I did get follow-up from PG&E, and so of note there at the campground is that there's a transformer there, and then there's also a panel, a metered panel that's without meters right now, but it looks like it has 5 potential hookups for electricity that could be used for like RV sites was the original plan. From what the PG&E Troubleman stated is that transformer is energized. So that's a good thing because when we walked it with the Forest Service, we weren't really sure if that connection was still up and going, especially with all the undergrounding and just stuff ever since the fire, just kind of pulling lines out and putting new ones in, etc. But there is an energized connection going right to the campground right now. So that's like that was a big one to kind of determine if that was going to need to be really kind of like started from scratch in order to get things run back over there. So that's a good one. The next one that I'm working on, I still have to meet with Charles, who's the utilities manager for the Indian Valley Community Services District. We have not found a time to meet over there to kind of walk around and look for some of the artifacts of any of the water system or the potential. It's been not so much rumored. I mean, there's indications that there's a septic there somewhere. But he and I did talk about it, but want to go over and investigate a little bit better to kind of see what type of wastewater management could be put in place there, or if there's something already existing that just needs to get tapped into. So that's the next step. And then simultaneously to that, I'm gonna try to do a face-to-face meeting again with the Forest Service down at their office to really understand their project process. So if this is something that can move forward, what are all the requirements that they need in order for there to be a contracted entity to do the work there? And then, of course, that would leads into the schedule and the cost and all those types of things. So step one was just kind of figuring out the utilities there. So halfway through step one there. Yes, Greg, go ahead.
How much funds do we still have? Maybe Danny could ask that we haven't committed.
Well, actually, so I've got that as the third bullet because
Okay.
I had something built here, like just to kind of a slideshow to kind of, or some graphics to show that, and it's better than an approximation, but it's not exact. There still need to be some treasurer work, and then just going back to the NVCF accounting, but that would be necessary to kind of bring up in this conversation.
Yeah, I'd like to know if we could set something aside until because we're giving money away now. So, like, I don't know how much is left, but it'd be nice to have some sort of budget for it in case this is a feasible thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the other thing I want to talk about to the Forest Service about, funding and how much do they have in-house to put towards this, and then how much would they anticipate would have to come from outside funding,
Mm-hmm.
So more to follow on that, and hopefully I can get something moving on that in the next week or two with at least information gathering and understanding better what that is.
All right. Good. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. The September community meeting, we kind of hit on it on email, and thanks for bringing it up, Danny. But looking at Saturday, September 20th, unless there's any big objections to that, but that's the third Saturday in September, really the first main weekend of September. Of course, we end August and go right into Labor Day weekend. And then I have a requirement on the second weekend, the 16th and I'm sorry, the 13th and 14th of September. So the best weekend seems to be Saturday the 20th.
And I'll just say, Patrick, I think I told everybody else, previously, I'm gone September.
Yeah.
So.
That's okay, but I mean, I can get some information from you via email or what have you, and then
right. But as far as I think, just the reimbursements will happen for the meeting, and I'll be back in time, to do that process that by the first part of October. So, just trying to set expectations so nobody gets surprised.
Yeah. Okay. So it sounds like the September 20th will work. All right. So next time, remaining grant funding, and I'll go ahead and I'll share my my screen for this.
So,
and I just added a couple.
Based on my numbers, while you pull up the screen, I'll just say with today's grants that we've talked through, we'll have $34,003 left. So.
Okay.
You got about 35, right? Okay.
Yeah. What was that number that you said? 34?
$34,003.94.
Okay.
Because that.
Yeah. And this was, this $34,039.98, that doesn't take into account some of the reimbursements and other things, but that was just what I was taking off of, money that we've granted, that the steering committee has granted recently.
Right. That's good. Good guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right there.
But that's, I mean, we're down, but and I just added these in, just not knowing whether or not they'd be approved, but I just added it in, and this money from the Canopy project and the Plymouth Sun, the two grants that the steering committee approved 2 weeks ago, that's still, I believe, in our account. It hasn't moved yet, but it's getting ready to.
Right.
That process is happening. So, treating it as if it's not there.
Right.
And then these two, as of today, that takes over the last month, I mean, that's a big chunk right there, $271,960.02. So that's a pretty healthy chunk of change right there.
Right.
So that takes us down to this roughly $35,000 threshold. So on that, I have a call. I tried to get in touch with her last week in preparation for this meeting, but I have a call with Grace Bush, who's been our point of contact at the Greenville Rancheria. Because what I want to do is frame this. It's not a problem per se. It's just kind of frame this environment for her, so she understands, and the Rancheria can understand the situation that we're in. And I'll kind of let me see here. What do we got? So, as you all are aware, this is kind of where we are right now, right? So the current plan from November of 2023 is that North Valley Community Foundation, $600,000 loan, plus the DFC, which had a $300,000 loan plus a $300,000 grant. That's the $1.2 million for their build. And I got a phone call last week, as did Kim, from Jonathan Cusel, who's the executive director of Sierra Institute. And they are partly funded for their facility that they're working on building in Crescent Mills. And they may be, and I was clear with Jonathan, and I think Kim was as well, that, frankly, don't have the the funds available for the type of funds you're asking for, but I think they're going to go ahead and put in a grant request and just at least have it bookmarked there so that if money did become available, they would request it. But this is our current plan. When I was talking to Kim, it's one of those things where, we don't want to dismiss the obligation to the rancheria, but if we have more information from the rancheria insofar as in their funding and their cost analysis for their build, if they're not going to need to access that $1.2 million for, months, if not over a year, then, maybe there's the potential to reallocate it to another organization like Sierra Institute or anyone else, or the Forest Service or something. But in this particular case, we would be talking like a loan. Like if the Forest Service, or I'm sorry, if the Sierra Institute was looking for something to kind of move their project along and they thought they were going to get a grant in the future that would be able to pay or fund the rest of their timber products campus. I can't remember the name of it, but it's something like that. A potential opportunity could be, where we still have the $600,000 from North Valley Community Foundation. We keep the $300,000 that Greenville Rancheria has already been promised in the grant, but the money that we were going to loan them, we still have that as a loan. So then that becomes a $900,000 loan to Sierra Institute, with the expectation Sierra Institute pays that back, and then it gets reallocated back to the rancheria when they need it. So Peter to pay Paul with the timing and sequencing to allow both projects to move forward. This is just an example. Like I was saying, maybe it's not the Sierra Institute, maybe it's some other project. Greg, to your point about maybe like earmarking money that comes back from that loan agreement, grant agreement or really the loan agreement with the rancheria in the long term to something like the Greenville campground. But future projects, and having like something like this where we can sequence things to where if we know that an entity that we loan money to can repay it, and then that gets turned around and it goes to another entity. So it's just an idea. This is all as of like last Thursday, with even knowing that the Sierra Institute might be submitting a grant. They have yet to do so. So didn't want to do, was hesitant to even bring anything up until we actually see the black and white in writing, what they're asking for. But I'm meeting with Grace tomorrow at 9:30 just on a phone call so that she can kind of understand that we're at around $35,000 left to be granted out to community organizations. And until that $900,000 eventually gets repaid, that hasn't even been used yet by the rancheria. I mean, the money hasn't gone anywhere, but just knowing when they feel like they're going to access it, what are their needs, and then if it's not going to be for a while, it just seems like it might be better used elsewhere before then. Yes, Greg, you have your hand up.
Yeah, we in terms of monies that we put out, we gave Tyler and was it RRA $500,000, has seed money to gain 5 million. How long do they get to hang on to that?
November.
Huh?
November. So that's a good question. So that money, if they don't, if that doesn't get repurposed and used for its intended purpose, then it's supposed to come back in November.
Okay. Good.
Yeah. And so on that one, what they're working on there with it's Plymouth Housing Council and Plymouth Rural Services, they've worked with Plymouth County. So stay with me now. But I could put this in a slide too, because I needed to write it down on a piece of paper to kind of understand it. But I can make a slide and kind of put it in with this because it has impacts to all this. But so remember way back when the Community Development Block Grant for Disaster Recovery money for single family reconstruction and defensible space mitigation, right? So that was $20 million. Some of those are going to go through as planned, so on and so forth. There's about $9 million that HCD still has for Plymouth County to apply towards those goals. And so the county and HCD are working on what's called an action plan amendment where HCD would then utilize that money and work with Plumas Rural Services, who is willing to kind of take on that role of being the property manager essentially for scattered site development with Greg, you brought up RRA, right? So as they build, it was going to be 22 units with 2 units apiece. So that's so that's 44 units. Then that would be the rent to own model that was talked about. So instead, they were looking at getting like industry investors, like Sierra Pacific Industries, Collins Pine, PDH, etc. But it looks like Plumas Rural Services is actually going to have a better footing in order to gain the investment dollars, most of which would come from housing community development, because housing community development can grant that money to Plumas County and then to Plumas Rural Services because of the 80% AMI threshold to create housing for low to moderate income personnel. The reality is in 2025, when HCD increased its AMI numbers, a family of 4 making, I think, $72,000 in Plumas County is considered 80% or below, which a lot of people may not even realize that they're in that threshold because it's like, hey, I'm making pretty good living, but you do fall into that 80%. So that actually expands the opportunity to be able to provide these access to these properties. So that's about a little less than $9 million that would be coming from HCD for that. The overall project cost would need another $3 million on top of that. So now we're getting closer to 11.75 million up to $12 million. What HCD would like is that PRS is able to develop that funding, that $3 million from, say, like SBI, Collins, Seneca, PDH, FRC, all those other places that they were looking at from the get-go to provide, private investment. Still remains to be seen if that's going to happen. They know that they've got 2/3 or 3/4 of the money through HCD, but then if PRS can't get that investment, then they would go to Plumas Bank and get a capital loan for that additional $3 million. That is potentially where that $450,000 that's left that the steering committee granted back in December of 24, that would be a logical place for that because it would go into that funding. What would be required is that the Amador Foundation basically rewrites that grant to support what that money is being used for.
Mhm.
The action plan amendment has been applied, like HCD has applied for that action plan amendment to housing and urban development at the federal level at HUD. And, all things being equal, it sounds like that's going to get approved. So that money could be reallocated. But November is kind of the clock to know what the next steps are there.
Can I ask one more question about monies that we've allocated?
Sure.
We gave, was it the Almanor Foundation? Who did we give $100,000 for a rental assistance or that program? We gave it at the same time we gave the $500,000 to Tyler for like keeping people, turning Airbnbs into rentals and stuff like that.
Yep, that's
What
right. That's also that's another one of the programs. That's both the TRIO program, which was supposed to be marketed through the Plumas County Community Development Corporation, and then the PlaceMate system. Then that was also going through PRS as well.
Mhm.
I don't know where that stands right now, but that is also like they have grant reporting that they need to do on that no later than December, which is a year out from the time that they got the money.
Yeah, I would really like to know what we got for the money with
Yeah,
that. So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Matt, you have your hand up. Matt, you're on mute, bud.
Yeah. So in terms of lending money short term to Sierra Institute while we're waiting for the for the meeting for the hospital, I don't know. I don't know how creditworthy Sierra Institute is in terms of like their ability to repay it all in 1 year, because they've been trying to raise money for this this factory for quite a few years, and none of their projects they've executed very well on. So in terms of their ability to like pull it off and stuff, I'll be pretty cynical. So if we want to be lending money to Sierra Institute, I just wouldn't necessarily assume that we're going to be able to get it back on time, on schedule, in full. I just wouldn't make that assumption. I think there's a lot of risk, and that would be potentially putting the rancheria at risk. So be interesting what we hear from a rancheria tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was a great point, Matt. And again, this is all very like conceptual. I have no idea. And presumably Sierra Institute is trying to raise money from other streams. Don't know what that is. And that's the type of stuff that would have to go into their grant if they were actually making like a bona fide request. But yeah, great point. So anyway, I mean, I think the kind of bottom line up front here is that with the funds that we have available, we are getting low. Roughly $35,000 available. That's definitely good at the kind of the micro level here. For some of our other organizations that may need a little help getting across the finish line on some of their projects. Once again, like some of these things that supplement what people are already doing seems to be a good opportunity. And then, once we know more about the rancherias, their costs, needs right now, especially since when they first briefed this plan, all that had come about in like the spring and summer of spring and summer of 2023. And presumably some of those costs by the time they start to break ground here have gone up. And then we still don't know if and what type of PG&E settlement looks like for them. Never got fidelity on their insurance payout. And then they'd discussed some type of FEMA contribution, which don't know what that looks like either. So a lot of unknowns still, but just wanted to keep everybody in the loop. And hopefully Grace knows a little bit more as there's a little bit more clarity as they moved along in these many months. So that's it on that. And we'll move into committee member updates. Danny, you want to go ahead and kick things off?
Well, I think I basically already said it, and we updated the file that I sent you. We're now at $34,000, $3.94 as far as what we have uncommitted, I guess is what I'll call that. So that's really the big thing. And we got another $3,000 in interest. That's we like that interest coming in. It helps us pay some things along. But that's where we said it would be nice if we could, as you say, work out and figure out how to free up some of that other money rather than having it out there in semi-committed land or totally committed land, but we could have it better used. And I guess I would rather put things as committed or allocated as opposed to giving away money. Something that doesn't right is about we don't give money away. Sorry, Greg. Anyway, that's just all I have got to comment. So we try to manage the money judiciously. You guys are doing good work.
All right, Danny, thank you. Marcia, do you have anything for the team today?
Nothing today.
Okay. Lida, anything?
Nope, you made my day today. So
Good.
nope.
All right. Dax, anything else for the team?
No, nothing else, but you made my day as well. Thanks, guys.
Great. Greg.
Nope, nothing for me.
Okay. Matt, what do you have?
I've been working on a little presentation for a kind of little plan for downtown Crescent Mills. And if everyone's got a minute, I'd love to share that. I'll read it really quick, like 1 minute.
Yeah.
Can I
We've
show?
got 30 more technically, so.
Oh, there you go. Screens, desktop 1. Hold on.
I think I turned the sharing on for all, so you should be.
Zoom maybe. Zoom may not be able to record the content screen until it's quit. Later. Okay, cool. All right. Can you here we go. Desktop. ChatGPT. Here we go.
Yep, there we go. We can see it up in lights.
Okay, cool. All right. So this is a little plan for downtown Crescent Mills. So Greenville's and Taylorsville's got all the civic things. Crescent Mills has got nothing. You got no parks, campground, schools, pools, septic systems, fiber, speed radars, welcome signs, museums, connected communities. We got nothing. The rest of the towns have got something. We received zero civic investment. In the start of this year, we had 4 companies. By the end of next year, we're going to have 12 companies, 3 times the number of businesses that's going to open. It's what it looks like today. What's going to look like in the end of 2026. But we've got this zero civic infrastructure that we're dealing with. There's no parking, no parks, dangerous across the highway, speeding drivers. It's ugly entrance side. It's just a blank sign at the moment. It's the sidewalks all cracked. There's no bus stops. It's super dangerous to cycle to other towns. So what we're going to do is a phase 1 improvement and the phase 2 improvement. Phase 1, some new parklets, crosswalk, welcome signs, bus stops, speed radars, parking. And phase 2, museum, tourist information, septic system, EV charging, fiber optic, cycle path to Greenville and Paxton. This is what it looks like for downtown Crescent Mills. 2 new parklets, some new car parking, little museum, new blacktop, new crosswalk, new bus stops, new tourist information. This is what it needs for phase 1, 260K to get that going, mostly to buy up the land for the two new parks. And note down there is like compare this budget to how much we're spending on Greenville Park and Taylorsville Park, which is in the hundreds and hundreds of thousands, or maybe million. I don't know. It's loads of money. So this is South Parklet next to Lisa's shop, North Parklet next to the store. Here's the welcome sign. Then here's like the status of the projects for phase 2 in terms of the museum, tourist information, septic system, etc., and who I'll be partnering with. Anyway, just to put it out there, but that's something I'm kind of working on. So I'm going to talk to Kevin and Tracy and try and get their thoughts on this.
That's great. That's a good rundown, Matt, to be able to identify the problem and some of the solutions you've developed to get after it.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right. Shelby, anything for the team?
No updates.
Okay. Well, with that, productive afternoon for all. And may I have a motion to adjourn today's meeting? Oh, correction. Actually, wait one. So the first Monday of September is Labor Day. Is that something you all would like to proceed with or forgo that meeting? Right now, we just as I understand it, we don't have any grant requests in the system right now. So there wouldn't be any. There doesn't mean that there can't be a couple that come in over the next couple weeks, but right now there's nothing that I'm aware of that's pending. And if that interferes with holiday plans and whatnot.
What about the Innovation Hub one?
I sent them the feedback from the last meeting, and just the, there was an interest in understanding who the other contributors were for the overall budget of $125,000. And I know that Clint had said that they had some meetings lined up where they thought they might be getting some of that money. And then I also directed them to the large grant application, just to basically, there were 3 more components that they just needed to fill out the narrative for. Those things have not been done, so I'm not necessarily certain on where they stand. I did email them a week ago Thursday, both Clint and Sam Schwartz Leonard with the information, and it doesn't look like it's been updated yet, and
Okay.
it has not been submitted. So,
So that's out there.
could be gathering those additional funds.
Right.
Yes, Matt, you have your hand up?
Oh yeah, just to shout out that tonight's the community dinner in the Roundhouse in Greenville. So I've never been to the Roundhouse, so I'm quite excited to go there and get some dinner and meet everyone.
Great.
That starts at 5 p.m., so half an hour.
Yeah, and Marcia's baking brownies for that. So you want to be first in the dessert line for that.
Awesome.
And Marcia, I do have your email that you sent with regard to the Firewise information. I've not forgotten about it. I've just it's been difficult to tackle, but I do have that on my list of things to do.
I also called Julian Howe, and he was supposed to contact you
Yeah,
and look at that list together.
I'll get with Julian. We'll get it done, Marcia. I really will. It's been.
I know you're busy. Thanks for all you do for us.
No, not at all. It's just been challenging. So just to get the time, but if nothing else, it's a good time to hang out with Julian. So, all right. So with that, a motion to adjourn today's meeting.
I move to adjourn today's meeting.
Thank you. And a second?
I'll second.
Is that's Greg? Thank you, Greg.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Did I miss it? Did you decide there's a meeting or not on the 3rd?
Oh, yeah.
Or on the 1st, rather?
No, you didn't miss it, Cass. I missed it. Bring it back up.
Maybe, Patrick, what you should do is see if there's any grant requests, put it
Yeah.
as a possibility on the 1st. And if there's no grant requests, we could go to the 15th.
Okay, that's a good idea. Thank you, Marcia. That's a good idea. All right. So that's a good idea. So we will stand by on the meeting for the 1st of September, and then we'll find out if there are any grant requests between now and then I will let you all know. All right, none opposed, and meeting is adjourned today. Thank you all very much.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
everybody.
Thank you.
Have a
Bye-bye.
nice day.